Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my first model makeover tutorial 2.0. I used to do these all the time and I'm bringing them back, and we're going to be doing this cut crease purple ombre glittery look. I wanted to go full force for this first tutorial, so let's begin. So I'm going to be putting some masking tape, lining up, leaving about maybe like a centimeter of space between the tape and her lower lash line, and aiming up towards the brow. And I'm going to be just combing through some dark brown brow gel through her eyebrows just to kind of give them some lift and structure. I was using the Essence brow gel in dark brown. What I'm going to do is I'm taking a MAC 252 brush and I'm using some MAC Select Cover Up, and I'm first going to be just kind of mapping out the baseline of her eyebrow before priming the lid with this concealer. And I'm doing this just so I can get a general shape of what her brow is going to be like later when we fill them in. And I just find that it kind of just creates like a nice clean frame. You know how eyebrows are supposed to frame our eye space, and it kind of makes sense to do this beforehand so you know what the eye space is going to look like once the brows are done. So it gives you a better idea of how far to blow out the shadow. Next, I'm going to be taking a Morphe blending brush. I will list all brushes and products down below, by the way. And I am going to be applying a dark kind of taupey gray color first from the Kylie Jenner Naughty palette, and I'm taking this from the inner corner all the way to the outer corner and buffing this pretty high to her brow bone, and just wanting this really blown out smoky look. I'm then taking a much smaller blending brush and taking a purple shade from the Morphe 35B palette, and we're going to be really building up on these purple colors. And what I'm doing is what you kind of notice, I'm always hitting back into that same spot, like right underneath the arch of her eyebrow first. Since it is a cut crease, that area is where we're going to get like the deepest of color before we apply liner. So I really want the contrast and color buildup to be there. I'm then taking a darker, more vibrant purple from that same Morphe 35B palette. These are all matte shades, by the way. And I'm going to be placing that right underneath where we had placed the first two colors and working on blowing them out. Looking back now on the footage, I was having a lot of trouble blending out these purples. The Morphe 35B palette can be hit or miss sometimes. What I feel like I should have done was go in reverse order. I feel like I should have done the darkest color at the lowest point of her crease first, and then reversed and going to the lighter color going up towards the brow bone. I'm gonna have to give that a try to see if it works better, but just in case you do want to recreate this look, maybe try that in reverse order, because blending out all these purples was pretty tricky. I then added a bit of black to the outer corner, but not too much because we're going to deepen it up later. Then to cut the crease, which is like the most important part, and I think the part that's trickiest for most people, I'm going to be using my MAC Select Cover Up again and just taking a little, actually no, I'm using the Tarte Tape Shape because I found it was a little bit more tackier, and I'm taking the MAC 252 brush again. The brush has a nice dome rounded shape, and it's very, very flat and very, very soft, and once you put concealer or anything wet on it, it just like conforms into like this paddle, and it makes it super easy for cutting the crease. And I'm just going to be building up more and more of that Tarte Tape Shape until I get a nice opaque kind of finish, and I'm patting it in. The Tarte Tape Shape is very, very drying, very, very matte. If you guys know or have ever used it, you know what I'm talking about. So this not only works for cutting out the crease really well, but it's also very tacky and makes for a great eye primer. So because of that, I'm going to go directly on top of this with a white matte shadow from the Kylie Cosmetics Naughty palette, and just on a shader brush, pressing that onto the first half of the eyelid space where the cut crease is. I'm then taking the Artist Couture Diamond Powder. This is in the shade Supernova, I believe. Yes. And I'm going to be patting that onto the other half of the eye. And then I'm just taking a deep purple shade from the Huda Desert Dusk palette and just patting that onto the very outer corner where that cut crease starts to fade into the black. And then I'm just using the very edge of my brush to blend it together. I wanted to add a little bit more sparkle, so I'm taking the Artist Couture Coco Bling just to brighten up that inner part, and it kind of just shifted from like this glittery white to glittery purple to shimmery dark purple, and then finally to black, which will fade into the liner eventually once we apply it. I'm using the MAC 252 brush again to press this on. Next part was a little tricky. If you have a glitter liner, I would suggest to use this, but I didn't have a purple glitter liner, so I had to get a little creative, and I got my NYX glitter glue and this really flat brush, and I just started to stamp the glitter glue or glitter primer into a straight line where the cut crease began, and then I stamped over on top of that with a purple glitter from Beauty Creations. And I just did this until I got to the darkest part of the outer V. For the liner, I wanted to do like a really thick to thin liner style without a wing, and I decided to use my Loreal gel liner, which, by the way, Loreal gel liner and Maybelline gel liner, don't sleep on them. They're drugstore, but they're really, really good gel liners. They take a while to dry, which can be good and bad. I would suggest to definitely just be wary of opening your eye too soon. What I like to do is go over with a matte liquid liner on top if I'm in a rush. So once the liner is on, I'm then just going to be taking a makeup wipe and removing any excess eyeshadow or fallout that may have happened, which is very minimal because the masking tape is really thick, so it catches a lot of the fallout. I'm then going to be priming her skin. For a primer, I decided to use the Dr. Brandt Pores No More Luminizer. And then what I'm going to be doing is taking the Milani 2-in-1 foundation. My model has a very olive undertone, but she's not very dark in color. Like, she doesn't have a tan to her skin, so she's in this in-between area where I don't want to put something on her that's going to look too pink or gray, but this color, in my opinion, by itself, the Milani, this is shade 2, it was just too yellow in my opinion, and I feel like you can see the contrast from her jaw to her neck, which later on you're going to see I'm going to fix in a later with some contrasting with contouring powders and concealer. But after applying the foundation onto her skin, I'm taking my Real Techniques multitask brush, which is actually a really fluffy face brush, and I'm using this to tap the foundation into her skin, and it's kind of catching a lot of air and it's setting and drying as we're going, and it also allows for a much fuller coverage since we're not using a sponge. No excess product is being picked up. It's all being utilized, so it's a very, very full coverage finish. I'm then taking the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in Sand underneath her eyes, dragging it down towards the tops of her cheek, and then I'm also going to take it down the center of her nose and forehead as well. And I'm also going to put a little bit of the color Fair on top just to kind of even out that yellowness from the foundation, which you can kind of see in this clip here. I'm then going to be using a damp Real Techniques sponge and just pouncing the concealer into the foundation. The Maybelline concealers are so good. I feel like they're really, really comparable to the NARS Creamy Concealer as far as coverage and finish. Consistency is a little bit thinner, but I don't mind that. And I feel like you get probably just as much product for way less, because I don't know about y'all, but I was using the NARS one. I would go through that, like, I would burn through that product probably within a month. To set the under eyes, I'm using some RCMA No Color powder on the damp beauty sponge as well and pressing that in. I am then taking the NYX Matte Not Flat Powder Foundation in medium beige to just kind of press the rest of her foundation and to keep it locked in and lasting a lot longer than we were to have left it just wet, which you could if you wanted to, especially if you're of a drier skin type, but she isn't, so I just kind of went lightly over. And then later on, I'm going to go over with a little bit of that same foundation powder, but in the shade Porcelain, to just kind of even out that really warm undertone that the foundation had. I'm then going to be taking the NARS Laguna bronzer just on a big powder brush, and I'm just going to be warming up her cheekbones. My model has really, really high cheekbones, and she's really plump in the apple of her cheek, which is I love. She doesn't need much contouring or accentuating. Her cheeks are like that kind that are ideal for highlighting, which I really like. But as far as contouring, it doesn't need to be so chiseled unless you're going for like a super fierce look. I'm then taking a little bit of that bronzer along her hairline as well, also on the tip of her nose, and just slightly on the tip of her chin. Then to contour the nose, I'm using this little Morphe brush. Again, I'll list the brushes down below. And I'm just using that to carve out the sides of her nose. And then going into my favorite part, which is highlighting, I'm using the Kylie Cosmetics Wet Set in Sugar Coated and Frostbite. And my favorite new way to highlight for like a really intense highlight is using this small brush, not a fan brush, not a tapered brush, Those fan brushes I don't ever use to highlight anymore. I mean, it's been a long time since I have used one of those to highlight. The tapered brushes I will use for like a light dust of highlight, and then for like a boom in your face, like high impact highlight, I'm using this small little brush because it lets me really precisely place the color where I need it to be, and then I get to rub it onto the skin, which just it has a mirror-like effect, so it really shines. And then on the nose, I just take a much smaller brush and highlight the tip down the center and the little swoop in between her eyes. And then I just placed a pale pink blush. To finish off the eye look, I am taking that same gel liner and I lined her waterline, and then taking a matte black shadow and a flat shader brush, I was just kind of smudging it out. I'm really smoking out her lower lash line here, and it's okay if it gets a little messy or a little jagged, because we are gonna go in with some concealer to just really blend it into her under eye area, and then it just gives like this really flawless smoked out look that will connect from the lower lash line all the way to the outer part of the shadow that was created with the masking tape. So here you can see, after layering all the purples and smoking them out, I'm taking that same MAC 252 brush and just pressing on a little bit of concealer and just making that line fluid from the shadow all the way down to her lower lash line before taking a smaller blending brush and just really buffing that concealer in, and it just creates this nice cohesive line from the top lid to the bottom lid. Then for an inner corner highlight, I'm using that Cocoa Bling from Artist Couture. And then for lashes, these are the Ardel 251s, which I've been talking about nonstop on my Snapchat if you follow me. And they are just so pretty. They're already double stacked, so you don't have to do the double stacking yourself, and they just give a lot of volume. I'm then gonna go over her liner and darken it up a little bit more with some Kat Von D Trooper liner. And then for the lips, I am using ColourPop Midi Ultra Matte and Curvy Gloss. And I love to use this it's not even a lip pencil, it's a concealer brush from Crown, but using a brush with sharp edges is your best friend when it comes to lip lining and cleaning up the lip line afterwards, because even I like to go over and just clean up any lip lines. Even if I already got like a pretty good application, I want to make it perfect. I'm then taking some mascara and coating her upper and lower lashes, and then just kind of getting my Snapchats in here. You can see, just taking a few pics. But this is a completed look, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please let me know what you thought, and if you're excited for more of these model makeovers, and just comment what you think. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. I'll see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.